What if there was a place, hidden in the remote valleys of Pakistan's Hindu Kush mountains, where gods still walk with mortals, where wine flows in celebration, and where women choose who they love, freely and without fear? Imagine a community of barely 3,000 souls who have preserved their ancient ways for over 2 millennia, standing as living testimony to humanity's rich cultural tapestry. Welcome to the valleys of the Kalash, an ancient tribe living on their own terms in a world that's racing toward modernity. Nestled at altitudes reaching 6,000 feet above sea level, these 3 isolated valleys, Bumburet, Rumbur, and Berir, are home to Pakistan's smallest religious minority. Their way of life isn't just different, it's extraordinary, unapologetic, and wildly fascinating. Picture this. You're standing on a narrow dirt road carved into the mountainside, the Hindu Kush peaks towering above you like ancient sentinels. The air is thin and crisp, carrying the scent of cedar and the distant sound of goat bells. Below, terraced fields cascade down the valley slopes, dotted with traditional wooden houses that seem to grow organically from the landscape itself. This is where the Kalash have made their home for over 2,000 years, and where they continue to practice traditions that would make Alexander the Great himself feel at home. Let's step into the forgotten valleys of the Hindu Kush and meet a people unlike any other on earth, a community that challenges everything you thought you knew about love, spirituality, and what it means to be truly free. Getting to the Kalash valleys is an adventure in itself, one that begins with a flight into Chitral, a frontier town sitting at 4,900 feet above sea level in Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. From Chitral, the real journey begins, a bone-rattling 3-hour drive along single-lane dirt tracks that wind through some of the most spectacular mountain scenery on Earth. The road to Bumburet, the largest and most accessible of the 3 valleys, follows the Chitral River as it cuts through granite cliffs and alpine meadows. You'll pass through traditional Pakistani villages where the call to prayer echoes from mud brick mosques, making the cultural transition to the Kalash valleys all the more dramatic. The contrast is stark. One moment you're in the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, and the next, you're entering a world where ancient gods still hold sway. Most of the Kalash are spread across the Rumbur, Brumbret, and Berir valleys, each with its own distinct character. Bumburet is the commercial heart, where you'll find the only paved road and the majority of guest houses. Rumbur, accessible via a precarious suspension bridge, offers the most authentic experience. Here, time seems to have stopped centuries ago. Berir, the most remote and traditional, requires a full day's journey and rewards visitors with the purest glimpse of unchanged Kalash culture. The best time to visit is during the spring months of April through June, when the valleys come alive with apricot blossoms and the weather is mild enough for comfortable travel. Summer brings festivals and crowds, while winter transforms the region into a snow-covered wonderland, beautiful but challenging for travel. Chitral Kalash Festival tour dates for 2025 are the 14th to 19th of May for the Chilam Joshi Festival, and the 19th to 24th of December for the Quaimas Festival, making these prime times for cultural immersion. Budget-conscious travelers can expect to spend around $50 to $80 per day, including accommodation, meals, and local transport, while those seeking comfort might budget $100 to $150 daily. Festival tours range from $350 to $850 for multi-day packages, with comprehensive cultural tours costing around 95,000 Pakistani rupees, or about $1,690. In the heart of these mountain valleys, where eagles soar above terraced fields of barley and maize, lives a community that has redefined what it means to love freely. The Kalash approach to relationships would shock many, but here it's simply life as it should be lived, with honesty, respect, and genuine autonomy. Tucked away in their wooden houses adorned with intricate carvings, the Kalash have developed a relationship culture that prioritizes personal choice over social convention. The air itself seems to carry a different energy here. Perhaps it's the altitude, or maybe it's the freedom that permeates every aspect of their society. When the morning mist rises from the valley floor and the sound of traditional drums echoes off the mountainsides, you'll witness something remarkable. Women walking with their heads held high, their colorful dresses swaying as they move with the confidence of those who truly control their own destiny. Kalash women are not only allowed but are culturally encouraged to pursue romantic interests openly, even if they're already married. This isn't about infidelity in the Western sense. It's about recognizing that love is a force as natural and unpredictable as the mountain streams that flow through their valleys. If a Kalash woman feels a genuine connection with another man, she may choose to act on her feelings without fear of social ostracism or punishment. The practice reaches its crescendo during the annual Joy Festival, a celebration so vibrant it seems to set the entire valley ablaze with color and sound. Picture this. The valley floor becomes a kaleidoscope of swirling skirts as women dance in circles, their black robes adorned with cowrie shells and bright embroidery catching the firelight. The men, wearing their distinctive flat wool caps, join in with fervor, their voices rising in ancient songs that have echoed through these mountains for generations. During Joy, the normal rules of society are suspended. Women have the freedom to seek new partners if they wish, and such transitions are celebrated rather than condemned. It's a time when the community acknowledges that love cannot be confined by social structures, that the heart must be free to choose its own path. The sight of couples forming new bonds under the star-filled sky, with the approval and blessing of the entire community, is both moving and profound. What might seem scandalous to outsiders is handled with remarkable grace by the Kalash. If a woman decides to leave her husband for another partner, the new relationship is formalized through a compensation system that reflects deep respect rather than mere transaction. The new partner offers livestock, usually goats or sheep, to the former husband, not as payment for a commodity, but as recognition of the bonds that are being changed and the new ones being formed. This practice reveals the Kalash's sophisticated understanding of human nature and their commitment to maintaining social harmony while honoring individual autonomy. Can you imagine living in a society where personal happiness takes precedence over rigid social expectations, where the community supports your right to choose love over convention? In a world where women's natural cycles are often hidden, stigmatized, or ignored, the Kalash have created something extraordinary, a tradition that honors the sacred power of feminine energy through the practice of Bashali. This ancient custom transforms what many cultures consider shameful into something beautiful, spiritual, and profoundly respectful. The Bashali houses themselves are architectural marvels in their simplicity. Built from local cedar and stone, these structures sit slightly apart from the main village, surrounded by terraced gardens where medicinal herbs grow wild. The buildings are designed with both privacy and comfort in mind. Wooden galleries provide space for contemplation, while the interiors are decorated with traditional textiles and symbols of feminine power. When a Kalash woman enters her monthly cycle or pregnancy, she retreats to the Bashali. But this isn't the isolation of shame, it's the seclusion of reverence. The community views this time as when a woman's spiritual energy is at its peak, so powerful that it must be channeled carefully. The Bashali becomes a sanctuary where women can connect with their inner strength, away from the demands of daily life. During her time in Bashali, a woman is provided with the finest foods, fresh bread baked daily, honey from mountain wildflowers, dried fruits, and herbal teas with properties that support her body's natural rhythms. Female relatives and friends visit regularly, sharing stories, wisdom, and laughter. It's a female-only space where the deepest mysteries of womanhood are discussed and celebrated. The spiritual aspect of Bashali cannot be overstated. The Kalash believe that during menstruation, women are in direct communion with the goddess Dezalik, the female deity who governs fertility and growth. The energy that flows through a woman during this time is considered so potent that it can affect the entire community, positively when properly channeled, but disruptively if not respected. Only after the cycle is complete does a woman rejoin the community, but she returns transformed. There's a purification ceremony involving sacred spring water and prayers to the mountain spirits. The woman emerges from Bashali renewed, spiritually cleansed, and ready to take her place once again in the social fabric of the valley. This practice stands in stark contrast to many cultures where menstruation is treated as impure or shameful. Here, in these remote mountain valleys, the Kalash have created a system that, really honors the feminine divine and treats women's natural cycles as sacred rather than stigmatized. The Bashali tradition represents a profound understanding of the connection between women's bodies and the natural world, a wisdom that, honestly, modern society is only beginning to rediscover. But the Kalash's uniqueness extends far beyond physical appearance. Their cultural practices, language, and worldview set them apart from every other group in the region. They speak Kalasha, an Indo-European language that belongs to the Dardic branch, related to ancient Sanskrit but with its own distinct evolution. Their religious practices, with their emphasis on nature worship and polytheism, echo elements of ancient Greek paganism while maintaining their own indigenous character. The annual festivals provide the most spectacular showcase of this cultural distinctiveness. During Chilam Joshi, the spring festival, the valley transforms into a living museum of ancient traditions. The Chilam Joshi festival is an annual springtime celebration in the Kalash Valley during May. This vibrant festival is a spectacle of colors, music, dance, and cultural traditions, symbolizing the transition from the cold winter months to the warmth of spring. Imagine witnessing this celebration. The valley floor becomes a stage where hundreds of Kalash gather in their traditional attire. The women wear their distinctive black robes called chumos, adorned with cowrie shells, beads, and intricate embroidery that tells stories of their ancestors. Their headdresses, called shushut, are works of art in themselves, elaborate constructions of fabric, shells, and feathers that can take hours to arrange properly. The men dress in their traditional shalwar kameez with distinctive woolen caps called pakol, and many sport beards that frame their often strikingly European features. When they dance, moving in ancient patterns that may have been performed by Greek soldiers centuries ago, the effect is mesmerizing. The music, a blend of drums, flutes, and traditional string instruments, fills the mountain air with melodies that seem to echo from another age. Modern genetic studies have attempted to unravel the mystery of Kalash origins, but the results remain inconclusive. Some research suggests ancient European admixture, while other studies point to more complex patterns of migration and isolation. What remains clear is that the Kalash represent a unique population that has maintained its distinctiveness through millennia of isolation in these remote mountain valleys. In the remote village of Kuru, nestled in a side valley where the sound of rushing water mingles with the calls of mountain birds, lies one of the most perplexing medical mysteries of our time. The local name for it is simple, yet haunting: the day and night disease. The condition itself defies medical explanation and challenges our understanding of how the human body responds to environmental cues. The story begins with three brothers, Shoaib, Rashid, and Hashim, who first brought international attention to this strange condition. Each morning, as the first rays of sunlight painted the mountain peaks gold, the boys would awaken full of energy, ready to play and explore like any children their age. But as the sun began its descent behind the western peaks, a transformation would occur that seemed to belong more to folklore than medical science. Dr. Luca Lovato, an Italian neurologist who has studied the condition extensively, describes witnessing the transition. It's like watching a switch being flipped. These children, who moments before were running and laughing, suddenly become completely immobile. Their muscles relax, their eyelids droop, and they enter a state that resembles deep sleep or even coma. The condition affects primarily children, and its onset is both predictable and mysterious. As evening approaches, usually around 6 p.m., the affected individuals begin to show signs of extreme fatigue. Their speech becomes slurred, their movements sluggish, and within minutes, they're completely unresponsive. They cannot be awakened by loud noises, physical stimulation, or even pain. They remain in this state throughout the night, their breathing regular, their vital signs stable, but their consciousness seemingly absent. Then, as dawn breaks over the Hindu Kush peaks, another transformation occurs. The children gradually awaken, their energy returning as if nothing had happened. They remember nothing of the previous evening's events, picking up conversations and activities exactly where they left off the day before. Initial theories focused on the role of sunlight, leading researchers to investigate possible connections to vitamin D deficiency or circadian rhythm disorders. But the condition proved more complex than simple light dependency. When researchers created artificial darkness during the day, the children remained active and alert. Conversely, when exposed to bright artificial light at night, they still succumbed to their mysterious paralysis. Local beliefs about the condition are as varied as they are fascinating. Some Kalash elders believe it's a blessing from the gods, a sign that these children are chosen to commune with the spirit world during their nightly journeys. Others see it as the result of a curse or an imbalance in the natural order. The affected families often report strange dreams and visions during the children's unconscious periods, which, has led to speculation about spiritual or supernatural causes. The medical establishment has been equally puzzled. Teams of neurologists, psychiatrists, and sleep specialists have studied the condition, subjecting the children to every test imaginable. EEG readings during the paralyzed state show patterns unlike any known sleep disorder. Blood tests reveal no obvious deficiencies or abnormalities. Brain scans appear normal. The children are physically healthy in every measurable way. Dr. Lovato's team has documented several cases across different Kalash villages, suggesting that the condition may have a genetic component. The fact that it appears to be confined to the Kalash population adds another layer to the mystery, possibly linking it to their unique genetic heritage or environmental factors specific to their mountain homeland. The psychological impact on the families is profound. Parents must adjust their entire lives around the condition, ensuring their children are safe and comfortable before sunset each day. The community has adapted as well, with neighbors and relatives sharing responsibilities for the affected families. It's a testament to the Kalash's strong social bonds that these children are not stigmatized but rather embraced as part of the community's collective responsibility. Recent research has expanded to include environmental factors unique to the Kalash valleys. Some scientists are investigating whether the extreme altitude, the specific mineral content of the local water, or even the magnetic properties of the surrounding granite formations might play a role. Others are exploring whether the condition might be linked to the same genetic factors that give many Kalash their distinctive physical appearance. The day and night disease remains one of the most compelling medical mysteries of our time, a condition that bridges the gap between science and the supernatural, between the explicable and the wonderfully inexplicable. For the Kalash, it's simply another part of their extraordinary existence in these magical mountain valleys. High in the Kalash valleys, where the air is so thin that every breath feels precious, and the silence is broken only by the whisper of wind through cedar branches, lives a creature that exists more in the realm of legend than reality. The white crow of Kalash mythology is not merely a bird. It is the sacred messenger that carries the prayers of the mountain people to the gods themselves. In the early morning hours, when mist rises from the valley floor like incense from a temple, the Kalash believe that the white crow begins its daily journey between the earthly and divine realms. Unlike its black cousins that hop and caw throughout the villages, the white crow is said to soar silently, its alabaster feathers catching the first light of dawn as it ascends toward the peaks where the gods dwell. The transformation story of the white crow is central to Kalash spiritual beliefs. According to ancient oral tradition, the bird was once as black as the night sky, living among the ordinary crows that scavenge for scraps in the village squares. The gods, impressed by the bird's courage and compassion, transformed its black feathers to pure white as a sign of its sacred duty. From that day forward, the white crow became the eternal messenger between the Kalash and their deities. The Chamus festival, one of the three main Kalash festivals along with Chalam Joshi, which is the spring festival, and Ukal, the summer festival, provides the most spectacular stage for the white crow ceremony. As winter's grip tightens on the valleys and the last harvest has been gathered, the community prepares for this sacred observance. The festival begins just before sunset, when the first stars appear in the darkening sky and the mountain peaks turn purple in the fading light. Picture the scene. Hundreds of Kalash gather around massive bonfires that send sparks spiraling up toward the stars. The flames dance and flicker, casting moving shadows on the faces of the participants. The women, draped in their finest traditional dress, form circles around the fires, their movements graceful and hypnotic. The men stand in outer circles, their voices rising in harmonious chants that echo off the surrounding peaks. At the climax of the ceremony, the village elders step forward to address the white crow. Though the bird itself may not be visible, the Kalash believe it is always present, hovering just beyond the reach of mortal sight. The elders raise their arms toward the sky and call out in ancient Kalasha, their voices carrying across the valley. White messenger of the gods, carry our prayers to the sacred peaks. Tell the divine ones that we honor them with our celebrations. Ask them to protect our families through the long winter nights. Request their blessing for the harvest to come. Ensure that our children grow strong and our elders live in peace. The ceremony continues throughout the night, with different families taking turns to offer specific prayers. Some ask for healing for the sick, others for safe travels for relatives who have ventured outside the valleys. Young couples pray for fertility, while elderly couples ask for peaceful passage to the afterlife. The white crow is believed to collect each prayer like a pearl, storing them in its mystical feathers before beginning the journey to the gods. The belief in the white crow reflects the Kalash's deep animistic worldview, where, every creature has the potential for spiritual significance. Unlike many religions that create hierarchical separations between the human and divine, Kalash spirituality sees the natural world as a living bridge between realms. The white crow is not just a symbol, it is an active participant in the spiritual life of the community. Children grow up learning to recognize the signs of the white crow's presence. A sudden stillness in the air, the way other birds seem to pause in their activities, or the appearance of a single white feather found in unexpected places. These moments are treated as blessings, kind of like confirmation that the prayers of the people have been heard and are being carried to the gods. In a country where the call to prayer echoes from minarets 5 times daily, where Islamic principles govern law and society, there exists a remarkable anomaly, a valley system where ancient gods still walk among mortals, where nature itself is divine, and where the spiritual world is as real and immediate as the mountain peaks that surround it. The Kalash religion is polytheist faith similar to paganism and ancient forms of Hinduism, and the people offer sacrifices for their gods. To understand the Kalash spiritual world, one must abandon Western concepts of organized religion and embrace something far more organic and immediate. Imagine standing in a sacred grove where centuries-old cedar trees tower above you, their branches forming a natural cathedral. The air is thick with the scent of juniper incense and the sound of running water from a sacred spring. This is a Jandrakan, a holy place where the spirits of the mountains dwell. Here, carved wooden figures represent the gods, their faces weathered by time, but still bearing the distinctive features that mark them as divine beings. The Kalash pantheon is populated by dozens of deities, each governing different aspects of life and nature. Mahandeo, the creator god, rules from the highest peaks, while Sajigor protects the flocks and herds. Jestak, the goddess of fertility and children, watches over women during childbirth. Dizalek governs the female realm, ensuring the continuation of life through the sacred power of femininity. But these are not distant, abstract deities dwelling in some far-off heaven. The Kalash gods are immediate and present, living in the trees, rocks, and streams that surround the villages. They participate in daily life, influencing the weather, the health of livestock, the success of crops, and the well-being of families. Communication with them is not mediated by priests or formal liturgy. It is direct, personal, and ongoing. The sacred calendar of the Kalash revolves around their relationship with these divine forces. The 3 main Kalash festivals are Chilam Joshi, the spring festival, Choimus, the winter festival, and Ukal, the summer festival, each marking crucial transitions in the natural and spiritual year. Spring brings Chilam Joshi, the most exuberant of all Kalash celebrations. As the snows melt and the first green shoots appear in the fields, the entire community gathers to celebrate the return of life to the valleys. The festival is both a religious observance and a community celebration, blending prayers to the gods with matchmaking opportunities for young people. During Chilam Joshi, the Kalash people gather to pray for a bountiful harvest, seek protection for their fields and animals, and partake in the unique tradition of young Kalash individuals choosing their life partners. The dancing during Chilam Joshi is not mere entertainment. It is a form of prayer, a way of communicating with the gods through movement and rhythm. The traditional dance, called Chaw, involves the entire community moving in interlocking circles, men and women together, their steps synchronized with ancient rhythms that have been passed down through countless generations. The dancers wear their finest traditional dress, the women's black robes sparkling with cowrie shells and silver ornaments, and the men's woolen caps and embroidered vests creating a visual symphony of color and pattern. Summer's Ukal festival celebrates the abundance of the season. Held in the high pastures where the flocks graze during the warm months, this festival honors the pastoral traditions that sustain the Kalash way of life. The celebration includes ritual purification ceremonies, communal feasts featuring fresh dairy products and seasonal vegetables, and, competitions that test the skills essential to mountain life. Archery, wrestling, and traditional games. The Winter Choimus Festival, held during the darkest months when the valleys are blanketed in snow, serves as a spiritual anchor during the most challenging time of year. Choimus Festival Kalash is also known as the Christmas Festival, celebrated every year, though its roots are far older than Christianity. The festival includes elaborate purification rituals, community feasts, and ceremonies designed to ensure the return of spring and the renewal of life. The Kalash understanding of purity and impurity differs dramatically from concepts found in other religions. Rather than being based on moral judgments, their purity laws reflect the need to maintain balance between different types of spiritual energy. Certain activities, objects, or states of being are considered pragata, pure, while others are bashali, impure. But these designations are temporary and contextual rather than permanent moral conditions. The role of shamans, called dehar, is crucial in maintaining the spiritual health of the community. These men serve as intermediaries between the human and divine worlds, conducting rituals, offering sacrifices, and providing guidance during times of crisis. Unlike formal priests, Dehars are chosen by the gods themselves, often through dreams or visions, and their authority comes from spiritual power rather than institutional position. Sacrifice remains an important element of Kalash religious practice, though it is conducted with great reverence and purpose. Animals, usually goats, are offered to the gods during major festivals or times of community need. The sacrifice is not viewed as appeasement but as communion, a way of sharing the gifts of life with the divine forces that sustain the community. Every part of the sacrificed animal is used, with the meat shared among the community in a sacred feast that strengthens both social and spiritual bonds. Step into any Kalash home, and you'll immediately understand why these mountain people have survived as a distinct culture for over 2 millennia. The warmth of their hospitality is legendary, extending not just to visiting relatives, but to complete strangers who arrive in their valleys seeking shelter, food, or simply human connection. The architecture of Kalash homes reflects their values of openness and community. Built from local cedar and stone, these structures are designed with flat roofs that serve as additional living spaces during the warm months. Each home typically includes a bashali or gathering room where families receive guests, a kitchen centered around a traditional hearth, and sleeping quarters that can accommodate not just the immediate family, but also visiting relatives and travelers. The traditional greeting ceremony is honestly a study in genuine human connection. Young Kalash girls approach visitors with a grace that seems to come from another century, gently taking the hands of guests and bringing them to their lips in a gesture of respect and welcome. This isn't a mere formality, it's an expression of the Kalash belief that every person carries within them a spark of the divine, worthy of reverence and honor. The offering of food to guests is elevated to an art form in Kalash culture. No visitor leaves a Kalash home without being offered something to eat or drink, regardless of the family's financial circumstances. The meal typically begins with shamus, a local cheese made from yak or goat milk, served with fresh bread baked in traditional clay ovens. The bread itself is a marvel. Thick, dense, and slightly sour from natural fermentation, it's honestly the perfect complement to the sharp, tangy flavor of the cheese. The Kalash have developed unique culinary traditions adapted to their mountain environment. During the summer months, they preserve fruits and vegetables for the long winter ahead. Apricots are dried on the flat roofs of houses, creating golden carpets that catch the morning sun. Walnuts are gathered from the ancient trees that grow throughout the valleys and stored in traditional wooden containers called drom. The preparation of mulita, a fermented beverage made from grape juice, is both a practical necessity and a sacred ritual. Unlike the harsh prohibition of alcohol in surrounding regions, the Kalash view wine as a gift from the gods, essential for religious ceremonies and social celebrations. The fermentation process takes place in wooden barrels that are often family heirlooms, passed down through generations and seasoned with the memories of countless celebrations. The role of elders in Kalash society cannot be overstated. Age is revered not just for its accumulated wisdom, but for the spiritual power it represents. Elderly Kalash are believed to be closer to the gods, their prayers carrying more weight, their blessings more powerful. When an elder speaks, the entire community listens, understanding that these words carry the wisdom of centuries. The decision-making process in Kalash villages operates through consensus rather than authority. Important community decisions are made during gatherings called jirga, where every adult male has the right to speak and be heard. Women, while traditionally excluded from formal jirga proceedings, wield considerable influence through informal networks and family relationships. The goal is always to reach a decision that serves the good of the entire community rather than individual interests. Children in Kalash society enjoy remarkable freedom compared to their counterparts in other traditional cultures. They are encouraged to explore, to question, and to develop their own understanding of the world around them. Education, both formal and traditional, is highly valued, with children learning everything from practical skills like animal husbandry and agriculture to the complex oral traditions that preserve Kalash history and culture. The transmission of cultural knowledge happens through storytelling, music, and direct participation in community life. Children learn the ancient legends not through formal lessons but through the stories told around evening fires. They master traditional crafts by working alongside their parents and grandparents, their small hands gradually developing the skills needed to create the intricate embroidery, wood carving, and metalwork that define Kalash material culture. The Kalash understanding of time differs markedly from Western concepts. Rather than being governed by clocks and schedules, life in the valleys follows natural rhythms. The rising and setting of the sun, the changing of seasons, the needs of livestock and crops. This creates a pace of life that seems impossibly slow to modern visitors, but allows for deep relationships and genuine presence in each moment. Music and dance are not separate from daily life but woven into its very fabric. Work songs accompany agricultural tasks, lullabies soothe children to sleep, and spontaneous celebrations can erupt at any moment when the community mood is right. The traditional instruments, drums, flutes, and string instruments, are not just musical tools, but sacred objects that connect the players to their ancestors and their gods. In the misty valleys of Kalash folklore, where memory blends with legend and the past whispers through the present, there exists the story of a tradition so ancient and mysterious that it has vanished from practice while remaining alive in the collective memory of the people. This is the tale of the Budak, a figure who once commanded respect, fear, and fascination during the autumn harvest festival known as Puel. The Paul festival, held in early October when the leaves turn gold and the air carries the first hint of coming winter, was once the most eagerly anticipated celebration in the Kalash calendar. Unlike the joyous spring festivals that celebrate renewal and growth, Paul marked the end of the agricultural year, a time of thanksgiving, reflection, and preparation for the long winter months ahead. Picture the scene as it existed a century ago, the valleys heavy with the scent of ripe grapes and walnuts, the terraced fields golden with harvested grain, and the entire community gathered in the central village square as the sun set behind the western peaks. This was when the Budak would emerge from the mountains, descending from the high pastures where he had spent the summer months in solitude with the community's herds. The Budak was not an ordinary herdsman. He was a figure of both respect and mystery, a man who had proven himself through trials of endurance and survival in the harsh mountain environment. During the summer months, he lived alone in the high alpine meadows, tending the community's goats and sheep, surviving on little more than milk, cheese, and the occasional wild game. The isolation was both physical and spiritual, a test of character that few men could endure. But the Budak's role extended far beyond animal husbandry. He was believed to be in communion with the mountain spirits, his months of solitude allowing him to develop a connection to the divine forces that governed the pastoral life of the Kalash. His return to the valley during Powell was seen as a bridge between the human community and the spiritual realm of the high mountains. Number 10. Marriage by elopement, love on their own terms. Marriage by elopement, known as awling in the Kalash language, is a well-established practice within the community that, honestly, contrasts pretty sharply with the arranged marriages commonly seen in other parts of the region. In awling, marriage is initiated entirely by the couple without the prior approval or involvement of their families. It's really an expression of mutual affection and understanding, driven solely by the wishes of the individuals involved. Once a couple elopes, it's the man's family who takes responsibility for informing the bride's family, seeking acceptance of the union. This process is crucial in legitimizing the marriage within the community, even if the initial elopement happened without familial consent. The bride's family also plays an important role by verifying that the marriage was consensual, ensuring that both partners willingly entered the union. This practice really highlights the emphasis that the Kalash place on mutual respect and autonomy in relationships. The practice of elopement is seen as a celebration of love, free from societal pressures or expectations. It allows young people to choose their partners based on personal connections rather than family arrangements, making sure that marriages are built on a foundation of mutual understanding and affection. The Kalash's acceptance of elopement as a legitimate form of marriage, well, it really reflects their progressive views on relationships and individual rights. Marriage by elopement also underscores the Kalash's commitment to gender equality, since both men and women have the freedom to choose their partners. This practice stands in striking contrast to the patriarchal norms often found in the region, highlighting the Kalash's unique cultural values and their dedication to preserving the rights and freedoms of individuals. The seclusion of young men, a rite of passage. The seclusion of young men is a rite of passage in Kalash culture, a test of endurance, resilience, and survival skills. This tradition involves sending young men into the mountains to live in isolation, where they herd goats and rely solely on goat milk and meat for sustenance. The experience is really designed to build character and strength, preparing them for the responsibilities of adulthood. During this time, young men learn the skills they need to survive independently, far from the comforts of village life. They must navigate the challenges of living alone in the wilderness, from finding shelter to protecting their herd from predators. This rite of passage is not just about physical survival, it is also about learning patience, responsibility, and the value of hard work. Only those who have successfully completed this period of seclusion are allowed to fully participate in major cultural events like the Shamus festival. This requirement emphasizes the importance of resilience and self-sufficiency in Kalash culture, qualities they deem necessary for their community's prosperity and continuation. Feeding the ghosts, the Mandak ceremony. The Mandak ceremony stands out as one of the most enigmatic traditions of the Kalash people. Held on the 6th day of the Grand Shamas festival, Mandak is not just a day of remembrance, it is a mystical communion with the spirits of the departed. The Kalash believe that the souls of their ancestors return to share a meal with the living, bridging the worlds of the past and present in a ceremony steeped in ancient lore. As twilight falls, the women of Kalash begin the ritual by baking walnut bread and roasting pumpkins, foods believed to be favored by the spirits. All doors are shut tight, and an elder calls out to the spirits, inviting them to partake in the meal. Inside the sacred space, baskets filled with food are laid out before the ancestors, with some offerings left outside for those spirits who prefer to remain in the shadows. It is a powerful reminder of the Kalash people's belief in the deep connection between the living and the departed, where the boundaries of this world and the next kind of blur under the glow of the sacred fire. The Mandak ceremony is not only a way of paying tribute to those who came before, but also a means of keeping their legacy alive. By inviting the spirits to partake in the communal meal, the Kalash ensure that their ancestors remain an integral part of their lives, guiding and protecting them from the beyond. Thanks for traveling with us. Wherever you are in the world, remember, home isn't just a place, it's a perspective. We'll see you in the next story, only here on Beyond Borders. Hit subscribe, share the journey, and hey, stay curious.